And let me check on Facebook, but we should be live just about now. So let's presume we are. So welcome to Cynthia. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And how are you?
I'm absolutely spiffing today. So thank you so much for joining us. And I know, and as I've been almost named at times, I'm the Facebook Live Virgin Helper. Would that be right? Yep. I don't know. And so it's your very first Facebook Live. So well done on being here and looking so fresh and well and not looking nervous at all.
Yep, because you can't see my hands.
That's okay. It is what it is. But look, it's I'm so delighted that we've been able to organise to get you in and have a chat, because we were just having a brief chat just before the interview, and I know the stuff you have to share, especially for you mothers out there, is just so vital. So I can't wait to kind of get chatting and get you to tell us more about it.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So the first thing I usually start with is just in a kind of a brief couple of minutes. Tell us who Cynthia was, what she had to do, and kind of who she is now.
Sure. So Cynthia was a fresh graduate many years ago. Came out to the workforce, suddenly realized that she was earning a lot more money than she was as a student. Yeah. And I guess trying to really figure out what to do with all the money. Started flying around in a corporate setting, started questioning, is that all to life? What's going to happen at 40? Am I just going to be stuck in a hotel room working for someone? And I guess that really shaped me into who I am today, which is really running a business to help the next generation get financial skills to be financially independent. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So was there if you like, a kind of a bit of a, I don't know, some people call it a defining moment. Some people call it an aha moment. Was there a moment where you went, oh, no, something's got to change?
Yeah. So I remember that was in a hotel in Hong Kong when Friday afternoon, my boss said, we might send you to Hong Kong next week or something. Came back from lunch and he said, sorry, you got to fly tonight. And that night, I just pretty much packed my luggage, went to change the money and got to the airport. And then that Sunday, I was in the hotel room and thinking to myself, what am I doing here? I've dropped all my plans for the weekend, all my plans with my family. And back then I'm single. So I was like, right, it's fine now. I mean, my friends take a beating every so and then they get used to it. But with family, eventually, what's going to happen? Am I going to just tell my kids that, sorry, mom's got to fly? And that's when I realized that maybe I'm not really happy where I am. And that's not where I want to go towards. And that's when I was like, okay, hang on. So that's when I remember that, when I first started working, my plan was just to work for 5 years and then start my own business. And that moment was like, right, I forgot all about that. I was just sucked into the work. And who am I?
Yeah, huge. And those things are huge, because to other people, and like I used to have a job years ago where I flew all around the country and internationally as well. And to other people, it looks like, hey, they've made it, they have a great job. And living out of a suitcase is not always cracked up to be, let me tell you. Yeah. So I'm sure other people would have seen what you had as success. So it would have taken courage for you to say, no, I'm changing this. So how was that journey of change into starting your own business?
I guess it was really, really challenging. Like you say, everyone thought it was success. And don't get me wrong, I mean, that lifestyle is quite enjoyable at times, the ability to fly around. So I served 3 months notice. That 3 months, I was constantly second guessing myself, like, did I do the right thing? What's the opportunity cost? And I guess to the point when I finished up and started my own business, I realized that there was so much to unlearn. Being an employee, it's easy to rock up to work. Stationery is provided for you. The pantry is full. You don't have to worry about all this little nitty, stuff that we kind of, as business owners, you realize, I need to go to office work to buy my pen. I don't have a pen now. Yeah. But I think more importantly, the whole journey was really about learning more about my own values, my working style, and really, I guess, the painful things about myself that I had to change, like learning to give up perfectionism. That's one. Learning to learn a lot of things like marketing, like we're chatting about marketing, how do we do it, how do we navigate those kind of things, talking to people, because I'm an introvert, I don't really like to talk to people a lot. So having to learn to network as well and ask for help, I think that was something that I really really struggling. And I think I've gotten better over time.
Yeah, asking for help, that's a big one. And you're so right. Sorry, the sound went a little bit weird there. I'm just checking. You're so right. It can be, you can have a lot of well-meaning people around you saying, oh, but you've got a great job. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And also another thing that I don't know if you've ever heard of voice dialogue, but it's a way of, we have lots of different selves. Yeah. And you're so right when you talk about we're the employee self for so many years, but we suddenly have to become the employer, and we actually haven't taught to be the employer. And if this employee won't get paid, if that employer is no good at going out and getting money and marketing the business, you know, so the business doesn't just come in and I'll just go and do my work. The worker self, if you like, is there doing it. So there's a big transition to be made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something really true as well, because I think that's also when I've learned to divorce the worker self from my self-identity, because I guess I come from a background where workaholics are kind of the norm. Yes. And so when you don't have a job and people ask, hi, would you like to introduce yourself? Suddenly it doesn't become, I'm Cynthia, I'm an accountant. It becomes, I'm Cynthia, who am I? I have to kind of try to redefine who my whole identity is outside of work. Yeah.
And that's key. I love that you said that, because, and you would know, and I know, you do certain networking and you stand up, hi, I'm Carmel, I'm a marketer, or hi, I'm Cynthia, I'm an accountant. The thing about it is that I have found actually allows them to put a value frame around your value. And what I mean by that is, for example, if you had an experience with a plumber, let's face it, we've all had an experience with it. So if you stand up somewhere and say, hey, I'm a plumber, my mind automatically goes back to the last experience I had with a plumber. And if it was a bad one, I'm putting you in that same basket. So, we need to get away from the, hi, I'm Cynthia, I'm an accountant, because that's not who I am. Correct. It's more, hey, I'm Cynthia, I help people with blah, 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 or, something different.
Correct.
So, yeah, I think it's a huge learning to have, and very important. So tell me, what is success to you? How do you define success for you?
For me, success now is really being able to impact the next generation, so change one life at a time. I guess a lot of our children have grown up in an environment where their value is really defined by who they are in school, whether they pass or they do well in school, the kind of jobs they get. And for me, that's where Empower to Free, we actually want to teach financial literacy in the sense of knowing who you are as a person and trying to attribute value to you as a person rather than what you do. And so to me, success is when, especially children who have lost hope or feel that they are not good enough for society, they recognize that they also have a role to play and there's some value that they can give back to society. That would be success to me.
Yeah, beautiful. And tell me, how do you do some of that? So we were talking, as I say, a little bit just before, and you were saying that you teach like students and in schools. Yeah. So just tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So we don't just teach content. I guess when it comes to financial management, everybody thinks of budgeting, savings, buying investments. What we really do is we go into the mindset of money. So all of us grew up in a certain culture. Our parents teach us their values about money, whether it's to save or to just spend. And what we do is we actually play games with the students. So get them to recognize what their innate instincts or behavior would be. And through that, we actually do coaching, which is to teach the content in the context of what they've grown up in, to understand that. And then after that, we do reflections. So getting them to recognize what their mindsets are, where they want to go, and how do they kind of get from one to the other.
Cool. Awesome. So as I said, I wish, somebody had taught me that when I was young. But who knows? So tell me, what are some of the mistakes you've made along the way building your own business?
Sure. I would say my first biggest mistake was not being comfortable asking for help. I guess when I first started my own business, it was always like okay, what needs to be done? I'll go and do it. And I realized that as a business owner, that's when you really quickly burn out, because you just can't do everything yourself. It's just not feasible. It's very humbling to ask for help, but once you ask for help, and it's never going to be a one-way street. I guess I was uncomfortable asking for help because I felt like I'll owe people something.
Yes.
But then I realized that people are really happy to help me, and that doesn't mean that I can't help them back. There's this thing called barter where, if you need something, you ask from me, and then we can always exchange our skills. Yeah. So that would be one of the, I guess, biggest lessons I've learned doing my own business.
Yeah. And is there any other mistakes that you've learned along the way that in hindsight now would be really helpful to somebody else that was listening? Because we have this illusion when we see people, that are what we perceive as higher or whatever, more successful.
Yeah.
And we go, oh, well, she makes it look so easy. And you go, oh my God, if only you knew.
Yeah. I think another mistake that I've made is really not taking care of myself first. And thinking that the business, I think often as business owners, we have this illusion when we first start that it's, there is a need there. We just need to start selling it, and then the money will come in. Yeah. And then we just keep, as we start doing it, we realize that, oh my gosh, there's so many things that I've not thought of that has to be done. Yeah. And before we know it, we get sucked into that doing. Yeah. And one of the mistakes I've really, I guess, really appreciate learning is that whole idea of resting and not burning out. Yeah, 100%. And you're so right when you say we have the illusion we make it. And some people sell courses that, just build it and they'll come. And it's like, yeah, okay. How many things, like, you can build lots of stuff, but if nobody knows you're there, of course they're not going to come. You have to be able to get your right message out to the right person at the right time, or how are they even going to know you exist? Correct. Yeah. Exactly. And so many people have so much value to add and to share and to teach, but nobody knows they're there. Because what is it? 3% of the population are financially free, really. Wouldn't it be? I think it's 97% of the population. We're born into a world that tells us to spend and go into debt and, be in that incarcerated. What was the study done that people who died, they died predominantly in debt? Yeah. And I guess in Singapore, in Australia, the statistics for young people in debt, they were saying that 1 in 4 would end up in debt by the time they graduate from university. And I guess that's true. So yeah, I would say, really one of the things we need to learn is to ask for help and just keep learning. I mean, just now as you're sharing, I'm like, one of the biggest mistakes that I've made as a business owner is focus on the product and not on marketing. So not talking to people and just getting that validation to say, okay, what do you want, and how can I make sure that people know about what I'm doing, rather than just work on my product and say, if it's so good and shiny, somebody will see it eventually. Yeah, and look, there's a snippet, an element of that is true for the short term. And one of the things is, a lot of people talk about word of mouth. Oh, it's easy, my business runs on word of mouth. That's actually detrimental to your business. And why I say that is because eventually the word of mouth runs out, and you haven't built your skill of how to market your business while you're getting that. It's great for a while. Yeah. But if you can't get more and more word of mouth, and you're not doing some kind of marketing or exposure to get your business out there, it's going to run out, and it's not scalable either. Yeah. So so what are some of your success habits? So we all have habits, as we know, and quite often they're just things that we're at the other side of it before we realize it has taken over. We've gone, for me at times, I'll be honest here, it's like, how did I eat that cake? It's gone down and it's on my hips before I've even realized I've inhaled it. So what are some of your success habits? Because we do have to change habits. Habits have different parts, and, it's like any neural pathway, we can rebuild it. So what are some of the habits you've put into place for you? So I would say one habit is really getting mentors in to help with all the different areas that I recognize I'm not that good at. You're so on the money when you say that, habits are ingrained in the brain, and how do we break those habits? Because I know my instinct habit is to just do stuff and not ask for help. So I have to have those mentors put in place, lock in those dates on the calendar, just so that every now and then I'm forced to talk to someone about the business and get direction. I would say another habit that I have is really planning my calendar. So this is something I learned from my mentor, Rebecca, whereby my calendar is color coded. And she told me about how you block in time for yourself, just to either gym or go and garden or do something for yourself. And then there are other pockets of time where you have interactions with people, so networking and meetings. And then there are pockets of time which is for quiet work.
Yeah. I try and color code my calendar, but then my brain gets mixed up with what color means what. So I do use my calendar though. And what when we build success habits, so what are some of the unsuccessful habits that you have let go?
Yeah. So one of them is really making lists. I guess with a compulsive perfectionism that I am, I used to love making lists and kind of ticking them off. I think that's one of the things that I've just let go, because it really doesn't help the mental space when your list keeps increasing. But then, the rate of adding stuff on is higher than the rate of canceling things or taking them off. So that's something I let go of. I think the other thing I've let go of is, in a way, my obsessive compulsion for tidiness and cleanliness in a way. But I used to be, this table has to be empty, no papers, everything has to be scanned. But I guess as a business owner, you don't really have time for everything. And so that was something that I'm like, okay, I'll just create compartments and then I will just batch those work.
Yeah, and I love that you say that. There's a thing called, I talk about veto power, and it's the ability to be able to veto out your focus and just stay focused on what it is you need to. And it's a never-ending, I think, evolving thing to change. It's not always perfect. If as you said it, I looked around at my desk here and but then my kind of behavioral type, or my personality type, if you like, I am driven much more by variety and uncertainty.
Yeah.
So I actually love a bit of the scatter, because it kind of gives me a bit of vibrance.
A bit higher.
Whereas somebody like yourself will come into my office possibly and go, oh, how could you work in that?
Or I might just quietly start putting away your papers and asking you, do you need this?
Yeah, come over anytime. You can come over. I need somebody to do that sometimes. You can come over. What's one of the hardest decisions that you've ever had to make in your business?
I think one of the hardest decision was recently we had to let go of an intern that we had.
Right.
I guess being an education business where, you ask me about what my hopes are, and it's really to see how each child can change their mindset. It was really hard to let go of the intern because he was struggling to adapt to our culture, which is that in this culture, in our organization, there's 3 of us, with him is 4. And we are pretty flat in the sense that every one of us can challenge each other. So when you say you recommend this, we will always be asking, why would you recommend that? Have you ever considered this? Just to make sure that the decision we make is a robust one. And I think from a cultural background, he was really struggling with that direct, I guess, confrontational approach. And he did tell me that, he's not comfortable with that from a cultural perspective. And I guess at the end of the day, we had to make the decision to let him go because he was just not a good fit. And I guess internally, it became a lot about, okay, what did I do right as a leader? What did I not do right as a leader? Have I failed him? And so there was a lot of the inner dialogue that went on to say, right, this is a decision that's good for the organization. It's nothing personal, and I have to learn to just be better at recruitment.
Yeah. And I love that you're being so honest about that, Cynthia, because again, some people are just quite, that's it. And look, I can be quite confrontational as well. I can go, okay, what about? And sometimes it's scary for people because we've kind of put some of our bullshit behind us and gone, right, let's just get on with the job. So I get kind of both sides of it. But how do you process and work through that inner dialogue that comes up?
So I guess there's 2 parts to it. First is really trying to, like you say, separate the dialogue, the facts from the stories that we tell ourselves. What happened versus what I think happened, and trying to separate that self-blame from the facts of the story. So a lot of reflections and internal evaluation, I would say. And then the second part is really talking it through with people, because as introverted as I am, I recognize that we're not built to be silos. And so I've talked it through with the business partner, I've talked it through with my mentor, just to get coaching on what went right, what went wrong, and what really has to, I guess, improve in the future.
Yeah. And you know what? That's such a powerful skill to be, I liken it to be the observer.
Yep.
It's like to almost disassociate enough And I think I learned to disassociate from working in hospitality. We used to be always told, leave your troubles at the door, come in here, and blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I actually use it as a tool, as a skill now. That's okay, like you say, it's like, let me sit here and say, well, what actually did happen? Take the emotion out of it. If I was a helicopter, what actually did happen?
Yes.
And then you seem to separate the emotion from it, because it's the emotion that makes it good, bad, right or wrong, or whatever label that we want to put on it. And when you look at it, well, that person wasn't quite a right fit. That's okay. So I love that. That's amazing. And as you say, to be so introverted. So I'm quite extroverted.
I can tell.
The thing about it is, I was told once I went actually to have my profile done for a career thing, and they actually came back to me and said, you're the most introverted extrovert I've ever seen. And I went,
wow.
Oh, what does that mean? And they said, well, you can do any job you want if you try. It's like, oh, for God's sake. I was trying to get some certainty. But the reason I bring that up is, while people assume that I'm very extroverted, I have a very introverted process around stuff like that. So I'll go into myself, and then I have to process before it comes out. So yeah, it's quite funny that, again, it's a label though, introverted, extroverted. It's like, how do you process the world is actually the function of it. We presume because people are loud, they're extroverted. It's not always the case.
True.
It's quite a tricky little thing. So how do you go about getting people to avail of your services now? Like, what kind of marketing or awareness or whatever do you put out there right now?
Yep. So this upcoming holidays, we're actually running a webinar for teenagers on money management. It's complimentary because we've got City of Canning giving us a fund for that. To advertise that, I've just tried all channels, like join Facebook groups just to advertise it. You would see it in our group as well. Gone on Eventbrite, Humantix, all the online platforms that we can think of. We just give it a try. I think the thing with marketing, maybe because I'm a noob, I guess a lot of it is really trying and seeing how it goes for a while, just to see how it goes. We've tried sending cold call emails to educators and finding them on LinkedIn just to see whether we could connect with them. And there is, of course, the good old word of mouth where we kind of talk to people and say, do you know of any teachers or any parents? Could you just share this with them?
Yeah. And it's, what do they call it? The spray and pray. Sometimes, but you like, woof, let's say. And some people recommend that. But it's really getting clear on, like, I would guess, your ideal client would be teenagers more so than younger kids. Yeah. But it's actually the person that you have to target it at would almost be the parents, because they're the ones paying, aren't they? Correct. You have to look at who it is and why would they be looking and where would they be looking, etc. Yeah. So knowing that, ideal. I actually heard somebody the other day going, no, you don't have to know who your client is. No. And they're talking more of a spray and pray method. Because if you spray enough, eventually your client will find you. And I'm going, oh my God, I don't believe you're saying that. But, let's see how that works. And things will work for people. But if you don't get it very kind of succinct and build on it and get your message really clear, you just won't scale it. We all can puddle around and be an employee in our jobs, even though the employer is not that great. So as a woman in business in particular, what is the best advice you would give to a woman who's maybe starting business or is in business for a while and is not kind of sure what direction to take? And I know that's quite an open question, but what's some of the tips you would recommend to somebody that's in that overwhelm or procrastination kind of cycle?
Sure. I guess I would, the first thing that came to my mind is really get a mentor in a way. Because I've been in that space where, you're just so overwhelmed that you procrastinate. And what really helped me get out of that funk, I call it, is really my mentor who said, why don't you list out everything and then see what you can prioritize and deprioritize. I think sometimes we forget the opposite of that. Coming back to the spray method, I will also say that maybe just set aside some time to just brainstorm and write down everything that's in the head, and get either a kind of team around you or just people who just want to give their views to help you better define your target audience. Like for Empower to Free, what happened was our website had so many revamps because the more people we talk to, the clearer our messaging got. Like in our heads, we have this person like, roughly like, yep, we want a working mother who's very harassed. And I mean, even if we were to go and join Facebook groups, you kind of have to have an idea of roughly who that person is before you kind of 100%. Know which groups to join.
I would even say even more than roughly, but yeah.
yeah. But I guess maybe because my personality is the kind where I don't really act till I'm very sure. So I've learned to kind of counteract that by, once I have an inkling, I need to kind of do some work. So I guess that would be another advice to the other women business owners, which is to kind of know who you are as a person and embrace it. Realize your strengths and build on the weaknesses. Because I think too often we have this idea of what the successful business owner looks like, and then we kind of just work towards that. But we forget that we are all unique beings, and we just need to leverage on our strengths to help ourselves.
Well, it's marketed very well what a successful woman is, isn't it? Or a successful person. It's, the marketing is sprayed everywhere. And we do have, Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, like they all have their place. But too often, and I think I'm quite often known for the person to be so real, because too often people put this false persona up and you only see this perfect whatever they want to display, and you're trying to kind of keep up with that, but that's not real. That's not it. I'm not going to even me that kind of does a lot of real stuff. I'm not going to show you me when I'm in a puddle crying or whatever
in that moment. 3 a.m. and doing work.
Yeah, and it happens, and it could be in the middle of a business day, and you're going, "Holy guacamole!" I'm there, and stuff goes all over the place. And you're right, getting a mentor. I work with a mentor all the time. I have clients where I'm their mentor, and I work closely with another young girl who's a copywriter, Sarah, and we had a big meeting on Friday to actually redefine some feedback mechanisms. Because we can't keep measuring ourselves on the old feedback mechanism, because we've evolved and grown.
Because you keep moving, correct.
Yeah, we need new measurements. And it was just amazing. I walked out of there going, yes. And even checking in as to what you had done in the last 6 or 12 months, and realized it's August, except for a few little things, we've actually achieved everything we set out to achieve this year. It's like, because you're so in it, you're in that funk, you don't always see it. So having those checkpoints, I think at least every 3 months where you do that big unpack, and whether that be with a mentor or you say somebody that's got what you want, or at least a few steps ahead of you, and that's why my mentor has built like 4 multi-million-dollar businesses. I don't just want to be working this hard for the rest of my life. I love it, but I want more, and it happens to be money as a means of exchange. I want more money to have, and most people, I think you would agree, it's not the money they want, it's what the money can give them.
Correct. And sometimes we forget that.
We do. We go chasing money, and how many times do you hear about somebody maybe lying on their deathbed and they go, if you have one last wish, it's never, I wish I had more money.
Correct.
It's always, I wish I had more time. Look at Steve Jobs. Didn't he said something about, I was successful by everyone's standards, but here I am on my deathbed on my own.
And that's it. Because the reality is this, right? We never really quite know when we'll die.
No. And no more so than it has been in these last few months. Fear is almost tangible. So look, I can't believe that we're just about out of time, but give us your top tip that you find is the most useful to people when you are teaching them, teens about money and about changing their frame of mind around it. What's the number one?
I would always say the number one is know your financial personality. So know what your tendencies are, and don't compensate for them, but hack them to make them work for you. So I'll just give a quick example. So if you know that you're someone who belongs more to the instant gratification, and you kind of need, you like to spend, because that's what gives you the sugar high and your brain works well. Then every time you save, make sure you give yourself a reward. So that, you hack your brain way into thinking that way rather than saying, no, I've got to save. And then you're just going to kind of just struggle
it's a lack
through
mentality then, isn't
Yeah,
it? It
yeah.
feels like you're missing it. It's the same as trying to lose weight or something. I can't never eat that again.
And then the
of
next
course,
moment you're
your
there.
unconscious goes looking for it. It's like, I'm
Correct.
missing something. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. So if people want to get in contact with you, Cynthia,
Yep.
what's the best way for them to do that?
They can either come onto our Facebook page, join our Instagram, or drop us an email at our website. We also have free e-guides for parents on how to teach their children about choices and sign up for our workshops. Yeah.
So when you say come onto your page and that sort of thing, so we can see your name, Cynthia Wong, is it Empower to Free?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that's the Facebook page as well?
That's the Facebook page, that's the Instagram handle, and that's also the website.
Cool, beautiful. Well, Cynthia, thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with us today. And I'm so glad to have burst another virgin bubble of Facebook Lives.
I'm not nervous anymore.
No, you can never, ever say now, I've never done a Facebook Live. You can never say that again, ever.
Yeah.
There you go. But that's great. It was my absolute pleasure. And thank you so much. And for such an introvert, you've actually been much more extroverted in your conversation today. So
thank you. Yeah.
That's all right. I've enjoyed it. Thank you so much, darling. I will send you a recording of this too. And it's been my pleasure to have you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. And have a good Monday. See
you too. So it's bye.
Bye. Bye.